What's going on, everybody? Jesse Montano here. I've got Evan Rawal with me, but you can't see him right now. We are here in Dallas. We just got back from AVS media availability at their hotel. No practice today for the team. Evan, the last time we spoke, we were in Winnipeg, and it was not 100 degrees out and humid. How are you doing?
I'm good in here in the air conditioning. Yeah, it's warm out there. I got people telling me I'm complaining, but I'm just telling my truth.
Yeah, it's I like the heat. I'm a big heat guy. This is hot, man. Like it's sticky, it's gross. And then the tough part about it is like you've got the AC cranking inside.
Mm-hmm.
So it's freezing inside, but it's way too hot outside. Then you step outside and you get sweaty and you get wet and you get kind of gross.
It was a tough trip to pack for because you can't wear shorts to the game.
Right.
Like you got to look a little professional, but yeah, and we're all going to get sick. Like that's just the reality of it. It's 90 degrees outside and then we go inside and it's 35 degrees. So,
well, and everyone made fun of me this morning because I made the comment about that I had my air conditioner going full blast last night. I said I had the AC bumping and maybe that was what people were making fun of. But like, it's hard because like, the unit's right next to my bed. So like I don't want freezing cold air blasting in my face all night.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also too hot if you don't have it going. I like the hot weather. This is a tough climate to
It's tough. It's tough
to exist in.
I didn't realize I'd missed the Winnipeg weather.
Yeah.
Here we are.
But here we are. All right, man. Let's talk a little bit about it because that was now that we've gotten some sleep. Evan needs a lot of praise for what he did yesterday. What time did you leave your house?
I woke up at 2 a.m. I almost did the thing where I was like, because I was like, it was like midnight, and I was like, should I even like go to bed?
Yeah,
I did. I don't know if that was better or worse because I was just gassed the whole day. Took the flight here. I did get a little power nap in, but I was just like,
yeah.
When Jared got up to the podium last night, I was like, I don't have any questions. I don't even think I could speak right now.
I think you said I had a question, but I
forgot it. I don't think I would have gotten the words out.
Yeah, I mean that was a late one, dude. We walked out of there at 2 a.m., almost 2 a.m., depending on what time you actually packed your stuff up. So that was a late one, but I think for the Avs, like the way that game played out, like I think not only will you take that, but you're probably pretty happy. The fact that you came away with the result, like you got to be pretty happy with the way that game played out.
100%. And like everything we had kind of talked about leading up to it, like, will the Dallas get tired? Will the Avs be rested? Like, I feel like that all played out like over the course of the game. Like we saw every little bit of that, like the rust to start. And then, you could see Dallas, like even DeBoer was like, you could tell we were tired in the second half of that game. So everything played out and Avs used what they had, the rest as a weapon.
Yeah.
They used it to their advantage, I feel like, last night.
Man, that already a good point because you hear them say that so much, but you do worry about the flip side of it with the rust. And I think that was a game last night where like it was 3-0. So I don't know how much you actually like survived, but like you made it through the rusty part of your game where they just didn't seem to be in sync. Like they weren't quite clicking.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're able to survive through that and then get on their toes, like I went and asked you, you got a good record this year in terms of like second intermission, like prediction. Like, I don't know. I think this could happen. So I went over and asked you and you said, Dallas looks tired. Like, I think the Avs will wear them down. Now it took 30 seconds for the Avs to wear them down and get it tied. But again, like I think that was anybody that was watching that game closely. It was apparent that like Dallas desperately needed that 3-goal lead because they were not going to be able to hang on the whole time.
It was weird how they got like a burst of energy in overtime.
Yes.
So they were just dead for like 45 minutes. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, we can try here.
And I wondered how much of that was like, we know we don't have enough gas in the tank to keep this going. So we need to try to like get out of this overtime quickly. Cause I even tweeted like that overtime period was heavily skewed in favor of the Stars. And like, I was like, I just don't know how long the Avs can spend this much time in their zone and still reasonably expect to have a chance.
Yeah.
But it takes one Miles Wood, Luis Mendoza rush up the ice, and that's it.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, if you're the Stars, you're probably thinking, like, these guys haven't played in a week. We have to take this game. Like, we had the 3-0 lead. We have to take this game because now you're like, oh crap. Now they've like they're in a rhythm. Like Nate, I said after the game, like I think we're gonna feel better in games 2, 3, 4. Like that's not good. And then like I almost asked Cox today, but like, did you like? Because I feel like with Miles, we see it a lot this year. They're just like, go get it. Like, you're gonna win that race. Just go get it. Like they have a set play, but I know I'm sure he would have been like, nah, I was just trying to clear the puck. But.
Right. I'm just trying to get up ice. Go get it. Fact. So let's talk about that a little bit because that is the one thing that I found interesting when Pete DeBoer was saying, they looked, well, it seemed like we were tired. We didn't quite have our legs. This schedule is not set up well for them to like get their legs back. And to your point, like Nathan's saying, okay, we got that rhythm back. Now we're good. I guess we'll go backwards and kind of get into the breakdown of the game, but I mentioned it last night on our live that like there's a huge amount of pressure on the Dallas Stars to take game 2. I guess what are you expecting tomorrow from the Avs? The Avs aren't the type of team that like we got to withstand the storm. Like I'm expecting the Avs to try to get to their game, but I don't really know what to expect from Dallas tomorrow.
Yeah, if the Avs play like they did the second and third period, like does it matter what Dallas does? Because like when the Avs are playing that way, like they're dictating the play. And the thing about that is that, I was asking Jared, that was like a super low event. Like when at the second period, I was like, oh, the shots are 16-12. Like what's going on here? But like when they're playing that way and they're like not giving up anything. Yeah. I don't know what you do. Like, cause you have the top line they didn't score a ton of even strength, but they did whatever they wanted last night. So if you're the Stars, like you can try to slow those guys down, but you just can't. Like nobody has been able to do that.
You can only attempt to contain them a little bit. And so here's the other thing that's funny because Pete DeBoer, and this is the part where I do think it's a real, not X factor, but like it's a very real difference maker. Pete DeBoer said it last night. Oh, their top guys were all over the score sheet. Our top guys weren't. I heard Rick Bowness say like, oh, our top guys need to match what their top guys are doing. It's like Mark Scheifele's not going to match what Nathan McKinnon's doing. Like, and so I don't know. I find that interesting that each of these last two coaches for teams that have been built so much on all 4 lines, the depth come at you in waves. Both coaches have made comments about like, oh, we need the top of our roster to be better. It's like, the Dallas Stars aren't going to win this series by Jamie Benn being better than Nathan McKinnon. Like, and again, maybe I'm digging too far into those comments, but it's like, to me, your top guys matching the Avs top guys should be the least of Dallas's concerns going into game 2.
I thought it was funny that he was like, yeah, our top guys. And he looked at the score sheet, and I think he's like, oh, maybe some of them were on here. So he had to like reel it back in a little bit. It was a long pause for sure. It's like, yeah, but I'm sure he's talking about like, say again, Duchesne. Didn't really notice Duchesne that much. I think he had an assist on the first goal, but didn't notice him too much. Robertson, like just it's the young guys who seem like they're kind of carrying that team. Pavelski looks old this playoffs. For the first time in his career, dude, like there was even a play last night where I think he was trying to get back. Like I think he was on the back check. And I mean, like he looked like he was stuck in sand. Yeah. To the point where I was like, is he injured? Because this is like in terms of his mobility, like it's a harsh drop off from what I remember from him, even go back to last season. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you're never going to match the Avs top guys. You don't have Nathan McKinnon. You don't have Jason Robinson's good, but I don't think he's Mikko Rantanen. And even if Mikko Rantanen's not playing at the top of his game, right? And at this point, I don't know if they have a Valentin Shushkin either. Yeah, like the way he's going, definitely. I love Miro, but he looks exhausted already. And Kale looks fresh because the Avs kind of roll their defensemen. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch because there really isn't a break. And then they go to Denver with the altitude. So we'll see. And to your point about Miro, I mean, like I do, man. Like I think very highly of Miro Heiskanen. I think he's on my Norris ballot. Yeah. So. Oh, I remember. I did you tweet about that? That like this is a fine group, but like it would have been nice to see him in there. Was that you? Well, no, I didn't. But I would say he was in my top 3. Yeah. Right, so he didn't make it, but he made mine. Yeah. Well, I think very highly of him. I think he's one of, 2 or 3 defensemen that are in the Cale Makar, like cut from that kind of cloth. Yeah. And look, Miles Wood he's a strong skater and all that stuff. But like, to your point, he got like Miro Heiskanen, the guy, the closest thing they've got to like a true superstar like Cale. He's the one that got beat in overtime. Like he loses a foot race and then can't make a play on the puck. That's all just stuff that
again, I don't want to get carried away and be like, that's concerning. But I think you kind of have to readjust the way that you're looking at things if you're the Stars and get back to that all 12 forwards, all 6 defensemen. We got to come at you in waves because last night, like you said, I think that was a good way of putting it. The top guys for the Avs did whatever they wanted.
Mm-hmm. And they only play 5 defensemen. And I don't, unless Hakanpää gets healthy, which I don't know if that's going to happen, I don't think that's going to change.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those defensive-year-old Ryan Suter, so who scored a goal last night, but still, like, you can do that against Vegas, who are not a quick team. I don't know if you can do that against the Avs. And I don't know if people talked about that enough coming into the series because Dallas has really good defensemen, but in the NHL this day, like the Blackhawks did it for years, where they basically played 5 defensemen in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can do that these days when, like, against a team like the Avs who can come at you in waves. And McKinnon plays 25 minutes a night.
Right. Well, and so, this again goes back to, I was talking to folks yesterday before the game, national folks and stuff like that. And there was this sentiment of like, well, what the Avs did against the Jets was great, but you're not going to do that against the Stars. Yeah. They're not going to be able to play with that kind of speed against the Stars. Why? Like, what is it about the Stars or the Avs that tells you the Avs won't be able to get up to speed? And this is now, it's one game. You got a lot of hockey left to go, but we're now 6 games into this playoffs, and the Avs have played the 2 best defensive teams in the league for the regular season, and they haven't scored fewer than 4 goals in a single game. Like the speed really does seem to be something that even these really strong defensively structured teams are struggling to contain.
Yeah. And they could get even faster technically if Drouin comes back. So it's just,
the
Avs are rolling right now, and teams may have underestimated them coming to this series because I think Dallas is a really good team.
I do too.
But the Avs are right there with them. Mm-hmm. And Vegas, people kept saying Vegas is a Stanley Cup contender, and I was watching. I was like, I don't see it. Like, I just don't see enough scoring on this team. So I think the Avs, Dallas probably found out like, oh, this is a different beast, than what we just played.
Well, because I mean, you and I were talking about this, like watching games 6 and 7 of Stars nights. They were good games, like they were entertaining games. But I was like, if this is the pace that Dallas is expecting to play with, like they're in for a
drop my phone.
That scared me. They're in for a surprise. Because you're just not going to be able to bottleneck the game like that for 60 minutes against the Avs.
Yeah. You can't do it. You can't do it with Nathan McKinnon. You can't do it with Mikko Rand. You can't do it with Valentin Shushin. You just can't slow these guys down. And even like Casey Middlestad. Oh, thank you. Even Casey Middlestad, like that line was a little quieter last night, but then you go look at their numbers and they were like, the expected goals against were like nothing. Yeah. So like they're limiting everything too.
So let's unpack the game kind of period by period there.
Yeah.
I told Corey from Denver Post after the first period, I said, look, I thought Dallas was the better team in the first period. I thought they were on their toes a little bit more. It didn't feel like it should have been 3-0. And then when you looked at the analytical numbers, he supported that. Like the Avs, even though they were down 3-0, they gave up very little in that first period. And I thought that was a good, again, despite being down 3-0, that was a good period for them to build on.
Yeah, the first 10 minutes were pretty even. Like the Avs had chances. I think Makar hit the post on a rush. So like they had chances. It was just that they kind of came unraveled in those last 10 minutes, which, if you haven't gotten into a rhythm, maybe that can happen. So
the Cale Makar post is off a bananas drop pass from Val.
Like behind the back, led him perfectly. And then you could tell the other defense was like, oh, crap.
Yeah, I thought he was going that way.
Yeah, so that was awesome. But yeah, I mean, that was just stuff that, it wasn't that bad. The shots were 9-5. It wasn't like it was out of control. And then some of those were on a 5-on-3. So what are you going to do about that? But it wasn't that bad. But, the Avs, we've seen it multiple times this year against this team that they can do this so they can come back.
Well, and the funny theme that it seems to be with those comebacks is that, like, there's a moment where everything, it feels like, starts to switch. And for this game, it was the Josh Manson save at the goal line. He said this afternoon, that he thought it was going wide anyways. I watched the replay a couple times. It was close enough that I wouldn't have left that up to chance. You know what I mean? Like it could have gone in, and that seemed like a big play. And just the theme seems to be they get a big play at the end of a period that kind of gives them some reason to believe in the locker room. And then they just start going. And it seems like once this team starts running downhill, like they did in the second, it just starts feeling inevitable.
Yeah, I think he's kind of. It didn't look like it might have gone in, but you're just not going to let a puck roll through the crease. Like you're going to stop. I like how he's like, "Well, I didn't put it in our own net like he did, 3 games ago." So that was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, they've done this multiple times. I remember the Vancouver game where they scored like with 5 seconds left in the period.
Yeah,
and then they come back and win that game. Like this team just needs something to get them going. And what was it Jared said last night? He's like, "Well, I didn't want to like calm down. I want them to ramp up."
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Because the question was like, "Oh, did you guys need time to like calm down and settle into the game?" And he was like, "No, the exact opposite. Like we needed time to get into the game." I don't know. Did their like engagement? Like I thought they looked in the game.
Yeah, they were pretty engaged. I think they were just kind of becoming unraveled a little bit, like Miko with the penalties. But yeah, I mean, they were in the game. It wasn't that like they were getting dominated. It was just, they weren't at the top of their game. So
yeah, the penalties again. The Jets talked about the discipline being an issue. We saw it be an issue for the Avs in the first period where the penalties started getting them in trouble. They end up on the 5-on-3, and then that starts to switch, and the penalties start going the other way.
Yeah,
and there's just so much of me that looks at what the Avs do, the way that they play. And like Rick Bowness talked about it and Pete DeBoer talked about it last night. I'm like, well, our discipline's got to be better. When you don't have the puck, you spend a lot of time reaching and chasing and getting your stick in there. And so I think that's an underrated part of what is leading to a lot of the penalty trouble that we saw the Jets get into and the Stars get into last night. When the other team's got their puck on the stick, the puck on their stick for 19 of 20 minutes, you're probably gonna end up taking a couple penalties.
And they weren't even that undisciplined. Like it was the 2 penalties. Even that, like the Rupe Hentz dive. Like I was like, I don't know if that's a dive.
I thought that was a generous call from the refs to give him a dive on that.
But like, yeah, the 2 penalties they took, like stick on stick, like the Makar hook that he was just like, oh, I didn't think I drew everything. Like, that was funny after the game. But yeah, I mean, they weren't that undisciplined. It's just like you can't give this power play is on a roll right now. It's
clicking right now.
Like Nichushkin is just unstoppable in front of that net right now. It's insane to watch.
JJ and I talked about that going into the first series of like, oh, can they get in front of Hellebuck? You can't get Val Nichushkin out from the front of the net right now. Like, I mean, dude, there was even a play in the first period when it was still 0-0 that him just standing there caused a whole bunch of havoc. The puck didn't go in, obviously, but like that is an element of the game that, again, I don't know if it's not that teams aren't prepared for it, but it seems to be on a different level right now. Like the way that he's dominating the paint, like we didn't even see this in the regular season.
I'm trying to think, like, is there anybody like him in the NHL right now? Like Matthew Tkachuk maybe, but Val's bigger. Like, you can't move Val.
No.
Like, you just can't. Like no team has a guy that can do that.
I can't think of a player. Mark was asking why they call him the choo-choo train. And I said, well, it's partially a play on Nichushkin. I said, and I seriously said, his combination of size and ability to move is like, I'm with you. I can't think of another player that's like, oh, there's this guy. I mean, he's just so dominant everywhere right now.
I know. And then a guy that big that can move that well, like, yeah, Dallas fans were probably like, huh, okay. Now we got to deal with this.
Do you think it's any extra motivation for Val? Like it being Dallas?
He always seems like, remember he scored that goal earlier this year in one of the comebacks here, and he just like did the
Superman.
He was all pumped up about it. I was like, yeah, I think it still matters to him.
I think he still takes that personally. But no, it was a funny dude because he scored that goal on the power play, again, right in front of the net, finds a rebound, which that was also a very fortuitous play that
just
Wyatt
like rolls
Johnston
to him.
Broke his stick. But he got that, and Corey even told me, he goes, oh, here we go. And you just felt the momentum shift. And the other thing I thought was interesting was I felt like the building shifted. Like it got quiet in there quickly.
Yeah. And the thing, they're making really good goalies look not very good right now. Because I was watching the Makar goal. I was like, was that screened? Like it just seemed like it beat him so easily.
That was one that if I'm Dallas, I'm looking at that saying you gotta come up with that one.
Yeah, like because I don't think there was an Avs player in front of him. I think it was just like maybe his teammate.
And he almost even like, and maybe we're not giving Cale Makar enough credit for like how he can be deceptive with his shots. Jake Ottinger is moving like right, and that puck beats him high glove. Like it almost looks like he's expecting it to, try to beat him over the blocker side shoulder.
Yeah,
and it just blew right by him. That was an interesting one.
And then the overtime winner, like, I don't know what he's doing on that. Like, I'm not a goalie, but like,
he doesn't push.
He just like backs into his net.
He backs into his net. By the time the puck crosses the goal line, his heels are on the goal line, and he's just extending. Like he didn't push across. He just tried to like kick his leg out faster than Miles could get around him. Credit to Miles Wood. That's that's a great little tuck, but yeah, that's a great way of putting it. They're making very good goalies look very average.
Not enough people have talked about Ottinger's like he wasn't that great this year.
No,
like Georgiev obviously has taken his fair bit of heat here, but Ottinger was like 905. Like he wasn't great. So
yeah, he struggled. Like, I mean, go back to last year's playoffs. He was the reason they lost to Vegas. Like he could not buy a save.
Yeah.
I do think he has coasted a little bit off of the reputation from
Calgary series.
Calgary series 2 years ago. Again, not saying that he's not a good goaltender. He had a great round one, but yeah, the numbers would not suggest that he's been the same guy from that Calgary series 2 years ago, which they lost, by the way.
Yeah. And I mean, goalies in general have been so up and down this year
weird.
that it's just so hard to tell. But yeah, I mean, the Avs are a lot of people would consider him a top 10 goalie, and the Avs made Hellebuyck look bad, and they made him look very pedestrian last night.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a ton of shots either. So it's not like they peppered him.
Like you said, it was a low of a game. That was an interesting game because it's 4-3. It's, it hit the over, which was 6.5. But like there was a really heavy defensive element to that game. Mm-hmm. The Stars came out and I thought played kind of, tightened the screws in that first period. The Avs kind of smothered them defensively the rest of the way. Like you said earlier, like there was the push in overtime, but for the most part, like the Avs kept them. Yeah. Like there wasn't a lot dangerous up until overtime.
I think it was 7 shots in the last 43 minutes for the Stars. And one of them I remember being dangerous, like on kind of down on our end, maybe in the third period where Georgiev had to reach over and grab his glove.
Yep.
But beyond that, like they didn't give him much.
No, up until that overtime where, I made the point this morning on KOA and even in our postgame last night, like everyone, like myself included, like we were all over Georgiev after game one of that Jets series. It's a different vibe today, if not for Alexander Georgiev making 4 huge saves in overtime.
Yeah. Like the save on Wyatt Johnston right after the Sagan save.
Yep.
The Sagan one, like they said it on the broadcast, like if he's a lefty shot, that's probably a goal, which is probably true, but he's not. Yeah. So,
but if I was 6 feet tall, I would be 6 feet tall.
It was good reaction because you can see he's like, oh no, I missed the pass with my paddle.
Yeah.
And he reaches out his leg. So it's like, okay, he did react in time enough for that. But
and what I liked about a couple of those saves that he made in overtime was it felt like Alexander Guerilla was tracking the puck well. And even in the games against the Jets that he played well, like game 5, I felt like he was struggling to find the puck. He was in good position, but he was doing a lot of like, where'd it go? And he really seemed to be picking up, the puck well last night.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you can really put any of the goals on him that went in. Like the second 2 were deflections.
The Suter one is the only one that I'm like, you want that back. But again, with goaltenders, I go into every game assuming that you're going to get one goal that is kind of a stinker.
Yeah.
As long as you can limit it beyond that, I really don't have an issue with that. And I'm with you. The last 2 goals are weird deflections.
Yeah. So he played well, and he's doing he's doing what he needs to do with his team. Just don't lose him the game.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
They were behind by 3, and he locked it down and said, okay, you have 40 minutes. The best offense in the NHL is 40 minutes to score 3 goals. And he gave him a chance to do that. Mm-hmm. And like you said, that's all you can ask for. Make sure you guys are getting your questions in. We got our stream here. We got our chat pulled up. So you get your guys' questions in. Jesse Montano, Evan Rawal, brought to you guys by our good friends over at Landmark Lincoln, corner of Broadway and Bellevue in Inglewood, and the all-new 2024 Lincoln Corsair GT. Crosshair. I combined two of their different vehicle types. Corsair GT. Dallas lost the first two games at home against Vegas and then rallied to win 3 straight. So by no means does an Avs win tomorrow mean that the series is done, pack it in, they're going home, it's going to be a sweep. But I do think there is an interesting amount of pressure on Dallas. Like now suddenly Dallas is just trying to get a split, getting out of town, because like we talked about, they look tired. It looks like that first series took a lot out of them. They wore down throughout the game last night, and they're not getting any additional time off today. No. The Avs are only going to get more invested into this series. They have a week off. And then you made the point earlier, we're heading to altitude after that. If you're Pete DeBoer and you're Dallas, what is your message for tomorrow? And I guess let me put you on a crazy spot here. Yeah,
I know I don't know how they do. They're going to have to, if I was them, I would pack it in. Like I wouldn't be trying to race it against these guys. Like, it was way
pack
too
it
easy.
In, like pack it into the middle of the ice.
And like the neutral zone, like 1-1-3, do something like that. Like just something that could slow the game down. Because the Avs, if you force the Avs to dump it in, like they don't want to dump it in.
Yeah.
And the Jets wanted to do that in round 1, and they didn't even get into it because the Avs were moving too fast. So it's easier said than done to do that. But yeah, I mean that's what you have to do, because that's a good team and they can pack it in, but whether or not they can do that as well, because I don't think they don't want to go shot for shot with the Avs. I don't think any team wants to do that.
And so you're almost more of saying, like, if I'm the Stars tomorrow, I'm saying no offense. Like, we're not going to play offense. We don't want you to play offense, and we're going to see if we can just kind of like squeeze you out here. Because again, the other part of this that you have brought up a couple times, both on this show and just over the last couple of days, 5 defensemen. Yeah, like you're eventually just going to run out of gas to try to again just squeeze the game like that. And I remember I go back 2 years ago to the very different scenario, but like the Edmonton Oilers in the Western Conference Final, they didn't have the depth to match with the Avs. And so they were having to shorten their bench early in every game. And by the time you got to game 4, they didn't have anything left. The guys who were rolling out there every single shift were just dead. And I start to wonder, with the amount of pressure that the Avs can put on offensively, the depth that they built specifically to play in a series like this, rolling 5 defensemen, one of them being Ryan Suter, who's 39 years old. Yeah, do you have the legs to play that suffocating style against a team that doesn't want to play that? Vegas was fine playing a slow, you made the comment earlier, like it's a team of grinders. Yeah. Like even Mark Stone, their best player, the hallmark of his game is like, oh, not afraid to get to the dirty areas. It's not the case here. Like the Avs want to play with pace. I wonder for how long can the Dallas Stars slow things down? And I'm trying to not put too much stock into that game last night, but I thought that was a telling game for the way that this could play out.
And also, like, you can't just, with 5 defensemen, you can't push the pace like that either, because those guys are going to get exhausted too. Like Heiskanen is awesome, but he's gonna fade. Tom Hartley's, he's really good too. So, or Thomas Hartley. So, yeah, they're going to have to decide, and it seems like there is a lot of pressure on them, and specifically their coach is putting a lot of pressure on them too. Like, if their stars don't show up in game 2, like, what is he going to say then?
Right.
Because this isn't, the Avs were the best home team in the NHL during the regular season. Like, you're not heading to Vegas, you're heading to Colorado, where it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and again, I'm trying not to tempt the universe, because everyone knows what Joe Pavelski has done against the Avs in his career, but there was even a member of Dallas media who I thought asked it rather bluntly.
Yeah,
he goes, he looked 39 in this series. It looks like it's going to be a fast one. Are you concerned about him?
Yeah.
And Pete DeBoer was like, well, I'm concerned about all of our forwards, blah, blah, blah. But I do, like, so again, I'm not, like, the depth for Dallas is impressive. Like, you run through those 4 lines. Those are good players. Jamie Benn is not getting up and down the ice with the Avs. Yeah. Joe Pavelski is not getting up and down the ice with the Avs. Tyler Seguin, I thought he was good. He's not the same, flash of lightning all over the ice. He's not getting up and down the ice with the Avs. Suddenly there's a lot of pressure on 19-year-old Logan Stankhoven and 20-year-old Wyatt Johnston, and Jason Robertson, who the last couple of years has struggled with the postseason intensity and the physicality and, all of that. Suddenly there's a lot of pressure on like, hey, we need you three to, be, and Rupe Hintz too. Like, we need you guys to get up and down the ice with these guys, and we need you to match what Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen are doing. That's a lot of pressure. Like, if the Avs can continue to dictate the speed, that's going to neutralize a lot of Dallas's depth just because they don't have the legs.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of guys that can skate with the Avs. Like, they're good. They're a really good team, but like Rupe Hintz, he can skate with them.
Yep.
They don't have like bad skaters,
no,
necessarily, but just no team can skate with the Avs really when you think about it. So, yeah, it's going to be fascinating. Like, this game tomorrow is a big one. Like, it's not like I thought they were done against Vegas when they went down 2-0. To be honest, so they can definitely come back. But this Avs team is definitely different than the Vegas team. And
not only that, with every game and with every round you go deeper, and that's part of what made the 3-0 hole for the Avs last night. It started to feel a little bit insurmountable because it's like, all right, yeah, but the teams are better and you're a little bit more tired and you don't quite have the same jump that you had back in January to overcome a 3-0 deficit. And the same thing goes for the Stars, relative to what you were just saying. You overcame a 2-0 series deficit. Do you want to make a habit out of that? I remember that being a conversation with the Nuggets in the bubble year. Because remember, they won their first 2 rounds overcoming a 3-1 deficit.
Yeah.
And I remember fans were like, this is amazing. And I was like, no, that's bad. Like, that's a bad habit to get in the
expend a lot of energy.
Habit of.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of energy climbing back in. I don't think Dallas wants to do that again.
Yeah. And the Avs don't want to come down from 3, come back from every game. So it kind of goes both ways, but it's easier to do it in a game than it is in a series where you got to put together 60-minute effort. So yeah, it should be a good one. I can't wait to see more green.
Dude. And then we didn't talk about whatever that intro was. Mark really liked it. Mark thought the AI alien robot theme was cool. I appreciate that it was different. That was the longest pregame hype video I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was long and confusing. That's what I would say. I was like, are they aliens? Like, I don't understand what's going on here. Like,
it was an alien artificial intelligence has landed in Dallas to help the Stars win the Stanley Cup.
And then it was like a knockoff superhero walking around the arena.
Yeah,
like, well, I don't understand this anymore. Like,
it was like, he was in there just doing this, waving a towel, and it didn't make any sense to me. And a lot of laser lights. It felt like it was the 90s for sure.
It made me appreciate Winnipeg and just how like basic it is. Like, there's just fans yelling. And then here's just lasers everywhere.
Here's a concept. Dallas should be changed from the Stars to the Lasers. That pregame show was nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Jesse traveled all those mics and crap. Yeah, we brought a lot of stuff. Mark's got a whole producer set up over there. Yeah, we got quite the setup in here. Any last questions to get in before we get out of here? Just kind of going through. Has Duhaime been quiet? I thought he was supposed to bring some nastiness and physicality. Haven't heard his name at all. I think he's been a really good, quiet player. Like, he's finishing his checks hard on the forecheck, et cetera.
He's not doing as much as I don't think he's playing as well as he did in the regular season. Like, if you look at the numbers last night, I don't think he was on the ice for a single shot on goal for the Avs.
Yeah.
So they did spend a lot of time defensively, but I don't think they're really too worried about that right now. Like, that fourth line was really good in the first series. So I think they're pretty happy with what they're getting from him. He's been decent on the penalty kill too. So.
Well, and for that fourth line, like, the fact that you've gotten 4 points out of Andrew Cogliano in 6 games, like, you're stoked. Yeah. Those fourth lines, like, you don't want them to cost you anything.
Yeah,
like, that's what you're looking for. Are they causing us problems? Do you genuinely think the Avs can win this series? Yeah, yeah, big time.
Yes.
Like, look, these are the Dallas Stars are a good team. They won the West. Obviously, it's 1-0. The series can still go either way. But, dude, it is funny. Did you get this at all? Like, there did seem to be a bit of a sentiment of that the Stars were significantly better than the Avs.
Yeah, it seems like a lot more people were picking the Stars to win the series than the Avs. Like, I was listening to the DFO rundown with Frank Saravelli and Jason Greger, and they were just talking about, oh, the Stars are just built different. Their defense 1 through 6 is way better than the Avs, and that's what kind of made me go like, hey, I don't know why people are not talking about Devon Toews is still really good. Like Sam Girard's really good. Josh Manson's been up and down, but he's been pretty good. So the Avs they're a good team. And I thought Sean Walker was awesome last
He was
night.
great. That was his best game of the playoffs, I think.
So I do feel like people were like, there's a lot of hype around this Dallas team. So I think a lot of people picked them to win the cup coming into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to stick with that. And that's what some of them said.
Totally.
But yeah, I do feel like there's kind of this belief that the Avs dipped to third in the regular season. They're maybe not as good as Dallas this year. And the Avs have cranked it up in the playoffs, and I think you can kind of throw the regular season out at this point, just with the way they've looked.
No, I completely agree, and especially like JJ made the point in that Jets series of like the games against the Jets. 2 of the games still featured Ryan Johansson. 1 of the games featured Ryan Johansson and Tomas Tatar. Like it's a very different group, and I know analytically, defensively, the Stars had a more consistent season. It's like I saw a couple analytic models that had the Stars like heavily favored in this series. And again, the other funny part, you just said something about like the consensus being their defense is better 1 through 6. It's like, well, they're only playing 5.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. Like I said, I'm not taking anything away from the Stars. By no means am I saying like the Avs are way better, but I just found that to be a funny narrative that several places that I read, watched, listened really seemed like, well, the Avs did it against the Jets, but this is the Stars.
I know. Well, that's the same people that were picking the Jets. I picked the Jets to win that series. Like the Jets looked really good and come in the playoffs, and then the Avs made them look like really bad.
Yeah.
Like they just did.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a different team, and Dallas has already lost home ice advantage. Like that's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
And they're in danger of going down 2-0 tomorrow, which would be very interesting to see.
And dude, the Avs, not that the Golden Knights aren't, they were the defending Stanley Cup champions, but like what seems to be striking me more about the Avs now in this postseason than the regular season, like I feel like for the first time we are seeing that like, oh, this is a grizzled veteran playoff team. Like how many years did we watch Chicago Blackhawks or the Pittsburgh Penguins or the Detroit Red Wings just like rip off crazy runs or series wins? And it's like, how do they do it? And it was always like, oh, well, they've been there.
Yeah.
This feels like the first time where we were just seeing the Avs take things to a different level, smell blood in the water, go for the throat. And if they get up 2-0 going back home, that building is going to be electric.
Yeah.
And 2, like, I just think that you are getting to the territory where the Avs are going to say, cool, we're not letting you up off the mat.
Yeah. This does feel like a team that last year was different. Like, that just wasn't a very good team.
No,
I don't think
it wasn't.
Like Nate and those top guys carried them, and then they were just dead in the playoffs. So this does feel like a super deep team. Like we talked to Casey last night, in between the first and second, he's just like, yeah, nobody's worried. Like we're calm.
Yep.
Like that's the sign of a team that's just like, no, we're good.
And you're getting guys like him bought in. Like Casey Middlestat's never been in the playoffs before, but he's picking up on the fact like, oh, all right, no need to panic. We're good. We're still in this. And he's another guy. I think he's been great. Like through the first 6 games. I think
He's awesome.
Been really good.
I just love his game. I just love watching him play. He's just so smart.
He's so smart, and he's so unbelievably skilled, but not like he goes out and toe drags 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
He just does little stuff on the wall. He picks his head up, like quietly dances 3 people, then steps out into the slot and makes a pass. Like he's so smart, so skilled.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a really fun player to watch develop here.
Definitely. And the fact that he's already picking up on the system in 20 games is kind of encouraging. I bet the Avs are like, okay, you can stop scoring. We got to sign you to a contract this summer.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Cool, man. Do you have anything else?
No, I would love to not have to come back here for Game 5. It's going to be really hot then too. So
yeah, we'll see, man. I was telling someone last night that not only are the Avs playing really well, they seem to be in a really good spot mentally, emotionally. Like I think they're starting to feel it a bit. And if you start to feel it and you start rolling, like that's a dangerous thing for the playoffs. Like, they're just going out there and having fun. And when it feels like you can't lose, like you kind of start playing like that, and you end up with stuff that happens like last night. So,
Mhm.
420 people watching right now.
Ooh, yeah.
So I think we're gonna get out of here. We got Pecan Lodge to get to in a couple hours,
Yes.
which will be great.
I haven't slept much, so I'm hoping that the barbecue just knocks me into a coma.
What time did you get to? Like, were you able? I had a hard time falling asleep last night once we got back.
I did
Cannot
too.
imagine. Did you really?
Well, I had to write a little bit more, and then I got in bed, and I was just like, oh, like I'm almost too tired now.
Yeah.
Like, and then I told you I can't sleep in. Like with a kid, I'm just like not programmed to sleep in anymore, so I didn't sleep that much.
There's a weird. I was talking about it with Tracy from NHL.com. Like, there's a weird adrenaline spike that you get after the game because the game ends, and that's kind of when everything that we do starts.
Yeah.
And so, and it's all very quick. It all happens kind of fast. We're running around the building, and if you got deadlines or we went live right after, like you just have to do a lot immediately after the game to get yourself up. Suddenly you get back to your hotel room and it's like, can't sleep, not tired.
And when you don't have supermarket sweep to calm you down,
Right.
it's just like it's so different.
It's like it's North Korea in here. There's no supermarket sweep on. Cool, man. That's all I got. I appreciate the hell out of you making the trek over here. There's a citywide convention in Dallas, so that's why everyone's
concerts, conventions, everything's happening here.
Everything's happening. I feel bad for the arena staff, the people who are having to turn everything over. So they were going to turn everything over last night for a concert. They'll have to do it again tonight. So I appreciate
Mavericks are on Friday. Basketball Friday.
Maggots are Friday. So. Maggots. Mavericks are Friday.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you taking the Uber. We're usually able to like walk to all this different stuff. So I appreciate you making the trek out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, watching, and listening. We'll have more content coming your guys' way throughout the week. Tomorrow and what day is it?
Wednesday.
Tomorrow and Friday. We'll have all kinds of good stuff coming your guys' way. Plus the debut of a brand new Guerilla Sports show on Friday. So keep an eye out for that. Thanks so much, guys. For Evan Rawal, Mark Chernyshov, I'm Jesse Montano. Thanks so much. Talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
I'll end it.